Hello! Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 tips for traveling anywhere in the world with kids. Traveling with kids is hassle, but it's really worth it. I swear, my daughter grows an inch taller anytime we go somewhere epic, but it takes a bit of planning and you'll have to change from how you're used to traveling alone. Hi, I'm Stacy. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I'm a single mom and I travel all over the world with my daughter. This past year we've been to Lightning Ridge in the outback of Australia, to Tokyo, Osaka, Nara, Yokohama in Japan, and to Maine and LA in the United States, plus heaps more local weekend destinations. I know what you're saying. Stacy, sounds like you have an older daughter. That's why you travel with her. I've been traveling around the world with her since she was itsy bitsy. She was on 30 flights before she turned 1 year old. I have been on that horrible flight from Minneapolis to Amsterdam, then really long layover to Barcelona, and you get off and you're exhausted and you have the stroller and you have the car seat and you want to cry. I have been there, and out of all of those travel experiences, I've learned a lot. So today, let's dig into 5 tips that will make your vacations easier. 1, give kids a stake in the vacation. And this happens before the vacation and during. So before, pretty obvious, let them pick where they want to go, or give them the top 3 choices, or let them pick some activities. That gets them invested in the trip. And during the trip too, keep them involved and engaged. And it doesn't have to be about picking. Let's say you have a pretty clear idea where you want to go. Keep them engaged on the trip itself. So for example, in Tokyo recently, I told my daughter, hey, we're getting off the train. We're going to go take a sushi class. Pay attention to how we walk because you're in charge for getting us back. It's a little bit of being in charge in a new environment, and kids love that sort of challenge, obviously in an age-appropriate way. So think of ways to keep them involved and invested in the vacation. They may be in charge of the map, they may be in charge of booking some tickets. Give them the space to own a piece of the vacation. Tip number 2, respect their rhythms. Okay, so if you have a teenager who likes to sleep in late, it's not going to go down well if you book a 6 a.m. sunset walk, right? So, and this is really true for infants as well. Know your child's rhythms and plan your day around those, because that's really going to give you the best chance of success on the trip. You want the people happy, trust me. Tip number 3, this one's important, I think, for me as well as my daughter. Only plan half the day. So it's really typical when I'm planning a vacation. I have heaps I want to do. I want to shove everything in, and if I was on my own, I would shove everything in. I exhaust myself. You can't do that with kids if you want them to last. So if we're going to a museum or if we're going to an amusement park, it doesn't matter how fun it is, I only book half of the day, leaving a bit of flex time in the other half. This provides room for downtime, and it also allows a bit of slip in the schedule if the train's running late. Who knows what the heck happens, and that just takes stress off of everyone. Tip number 4, this one's a big one, and I know it's going to sound a little privileged, but I'm going to say it anyway. Know when to splash out monetarily. There are times when money is the answer to your problems. So for example, this year, we landed in Tokyo, delayed flight, 1 a.m., trains were no longer working. The answer to my problems was to pay $105 for a taxi that would take us to our hotel. That was the best way to solve the problem we were in. And I know it's hard with families. Everything is so expensive when you're traveling, and it's multiplied by how many people you have with you, but sometimes money is the answer to saving your day. It may be at Disneyland, buying an express pass that saves you time in line. It may be a nice restaurant that calms everyone's nerves. You'll know what's right for your family, and I build this into my budget at the start. It's a little bit of flex for those times when you're like, we need something special right now, or we're in an emergency, and we're just gonna get this sorted out with a little bit of cash in a way that maybe you don't have to be if you were on your own, but you're not. You're in charge of everyone being happy, and it'll save you some energy the next day. Tip number 5, They're all good, aren't they? Like, this one's really big though. Establish the rules for alone time, especially if you're a single parent, but it's true for everyone. You need some downtime in your life. And especially if you're traveling multiple days, your kids often come to you, rely on you, but you need to set the barriers around your space. Especially if you're traveling somewhere like Europe or Japan where the rooms are really small, it may not be obvious. You're probably used to living in a house where you have a bedroom or you have a separate space where you can shut the doors, or you're used to them going to an after-school activity to get you some time. On a vacation, you have none of that. So it's important to establish those rules for alone time, and best to do it before you need the time, to do it in advance. So for example, with my daughter, I'll be very clear about like, hey, we're going out to wherever we're going, but when we get home, I just need an hour to read my book, and you do your activity, and then I'll be ready for you. And there's two parts to this. One is making sure that your kids have activities that they can do on their own, right? And two, this is a mistake I see a lot, is misestimating your kids' evaluation of their energy. So very often I'll hear parents say, I took them to the museum all freaking morning, and then we got back to the hotel and they wanted me to play with them. Why? Well, let's look at it from the kids' point of view. If you took them to a museum that you wanted to do, in their heads, they're thinking, I'm being good. I'm doing what mom wants me to do. I'm being good. I'm behaving. And then when they get back to the hotel, they're like, okay, where's me time, right? And so that's a misalignment of what they need at the end of a trip and what you need at the end of the trip. So being mindful of that and being really specific about your needs to plan the schedule and to get your recharge is super important. Okay. I have heaps more travel tips, and I'll be posting more specifics later, but just to get you started, those are my 5 biggest ones for traveling anywhere in the world with your kids. See you next time.